What's up, everyone, and welcome back. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Ooh, your mic's wobbling, dude.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Chromecast. I feel like I have to hold it. I don't know why. I feel like I should just be able to let it go.
When most podcasters, when you watch them, they keep their hands on it.
Took me a minute, and then I'm just like...
If you are watching the YouTube video, you'll notice we're in a different set. Same spot.
Floating mics. It's like magic.
New setup here. We've got the couch.
Love seat.
Yeah. I mean, it's only going to fit two men. Two fully grown men.
All right, we're on a sitting utensil.
Utensil?
Tool. We're in a sitting
apparatus.
We're in a sitting apparatus. Robbie's in a sitting apparatus. We have some mics rigged up. And we're just going to try it.
We should have all three just sat on that.
That would be incredible.
You should sit on the coffee table.
This coffee table is not actually storing anything.
It was at one point. And
not
then
an actual coffee table.
It stopped being good.
We slid it across the car. It's just not poorly. It's poorly made. It's not well crafted.
It was cheap.
It was cheap.
My kids were here. One of them touched it and it collapsed.
Just fell apart because the one leg has no support. So if you slide it, if you try to adjust it on the carpet, it pulls that leg. So anywho, we've got a new little setup here. We're going to try this and just see what happens.
I like it. I'm
trying to go a little bit more casual, you know? I feel like the desk setup that we have lately that we've been doing, the kind of cross set, it is nice, but it's not. Whenever we did the interview with John Miletus, I was like, yes.
Yeah, it was nice.
This is nice.
You know what's interesting is with the desk setup, we're technically closer. You would think that would be better for conversation, but this feels more conducive to conversation because
you're just sitting.
It's like you're sitting around drinking a cup of coffee, talking.
I chill on the couch all the time with this in my face,
right?
Like at home and stuff.
Right.
I get.
Robbie records himself 24/7
just in case.
Robbie
could say something super witty, and then be like, I need to.
He does a live vlog at his house. You can
24/7.
You can find it at robbiestechreviews.com.
1 a.m. It sounds like this.
What? Meyer.
It is.
I pull the mic over in the bed and everything.
It is strange not having the headphones on because we've gotten so used to podcasting with headphones.
Yeah,
That's why I kind of needed them on. Well, and I wanted to make sure that we were rolling and everything was good. So I put the headphones on, but now taking them off,
So if this sounds horrible, sorry.
Yeah,
but technically everything's the same.
We can see the waveforms going over there.
So it's good. We're rolling. So we did a kind of different episode in our last episode of the Chromecast. So we wanted to do a kind of one-off episode or like a breakdown or a trending, I think is what we made the playlist.
Yeah, I think that's what the idea is. It's a trending, like a
something that's going on that we want to do just an episode just about that. We talked about doing it with Minecraft and never got around to that one. Maybe we'll still do it. But we did this one on AI and generative AI, and it was a fun conversation. We let Bard basically give us the outline.
We did, yeah.
And then Gabe got offended and left.
I did.
Yeah, mid podcast.
He just got up and left. And then he
did. People started talking about regulations and government and ethics, and I was like, I'm out.
I'm out.
See ya.
I'm just kidding.
I won't be regulated. I won't. I refuse.
I refuse to be regulated. Is that what Bard says, or is that you? You don't want to be regulated. Okay.
No, it's Gabe.
Oh, okay, that was Gabe.
Yeah, I will not be regulated.
Don't fence me in.
Well, it was a fun... Regulation aside, it was a fun chat, and you should go check it out.
Did you get the show notes, by the way?
It was a good one. I didn't even remotely look at them.
You're sitting over there with no writing apparatus.
Hey, Robbie, you're host today. Go ahead.
I feel like I'm in the host chair.
I kind of thought about me sitting there, but it messes up. I like this side shot for you.
Okay. So
what are we talking about first?
I think we should talk about a little bit because it's a quick thing we can kind of get out of the way.
Okay.
To start the show with some new hardware. So Acer just unveiled a new Chromebook, and Gabe got wind of a Chromebox. They both have what is a bit unique in them, and Raptor leg
noise. There you go. There it is.
I don't know what a Raptor sounds like.
Does
I think
anyone
that was
Remember, is it Ross? He's talking about velociraptors.
Wow. Yeah, we're gonna make a meme out of that.
Yeah.
I can't get my hands up here because I don't want to hit my mic.
Yeah, you feel I feel trapped.
I'm in my like Joe
you're right.
put something back there. I was like,
The couch is much better for.
Yeah, the couch is super comfy.
So. Well, I mean, I'm do I look uncomfortable?
That chair is literally.
Do I look as uncomfortable as I feel?
That chair is.
Go get my racing chair. You can see.
Yeah. Just come in here, lay back.
No, I think if we do we're gonna get some tripods and
like boom mic stands.
The stubby little boom. That way it's just boom. It's right here, and you can kind of grab it and move it. I feel like
this is a little too wobbly.
I don't want to mess with it,
especially with you all with the coffee on that table
and our super
strong
furniture.
And these mics are not like
they're
light.
Very heavy.
They're quite hefty.
So yeah, if it all goes wrong, we'll make them.
Be some good outtakes.
That's right.
But yeah, so the Raptor Lake, I haven't looked into other than finding commits. Golly, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, maybe, maybe 6 months ago, about Raptor Lake in the repositories. The other day I was like, I probably need to get Wise on Raptor Lake because I don't know what I know it's not very different than Alder Lake chips. So
I got an email from Eric at CTL last week. Cool dude, CEO of CTL. He always kind of keeps me in the loop on not like secretive stuff. He's not leaking anything. He just kind of gives me a heads up. Hey, this is getting ready to happen, or we're putting a press release out, or whatever. They launched their newest Chromebox last week, and it looks just like their last CBX2, the one that we reviewed and the one did a teardown of and all that stuff. But I looked at the specs when he sent it. The Celeron was the Celeron that's in stuff right now, so it's 12th gen. But then I saw the i7 and it was a 1355, and I messaged him back because I just texted him. I'm not even going to email. I'm just going to text.
What is this?
Because he'll text me like at random times. We were in Florida and he was texting me at like they had that new Chromebook that has the clear bottom on it. And I was because he's on the West Coast. I'm getting like texts from him at like 2:00 in the morning. He's like, "Hey, what do you think about a Chromebook that has a clear bottom?" And we were talking about it. And the next thing I know, he's like, "All right, we're going to put a press release out." I'm like, okay, cool. So, but I texted him to make sure, like, this is 1355. Is this a 13th gen? And he said, yeah, the i7 version is actually the Raptor Lake. And he went on to tell me that it's literally a pin replacement CPU. So the kind of the way old school CPUs were, you just get the CPU and you pop it out and you pop a new one in with a thermal grease on it.
Right, so they're that similar.
Yeah, so that
just a little.
Yeah,
similar.
that led me to dig in to see exactly what the differences were. That way, I could actually speak to it in the article. The only difference between Alder Lake and Rocket Lake.
No,
these Raptor. now, granted, when Raptor Lake, yeah.
Raptor. You have to do that every time.
I'm pretty sure the Raptors have like 3 claws, right?
Raptor.
So when we talk about these chips, keep in mind the scope of chips for Chrome OS devices is pretty narrow, because if you go desktops and servers and Windows devices, you've got all sorts of different series of chips, P series, and all these different things. So there's usually one i3, one i5, and one i7. Sometimes there's 2, and it's usually a U-series chip, usually.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there are other chips other than this, but the only difference between this i7, which is a 1355, and the previous i7, which is a 1255, is the clock speed.
Okay.
This one goes to 5 gigahertz, which is pretty beefy.
Yeah.
The 12th gen goes to, it's either 4.5 or 4.8 or something like that.
So half of a gigahertz.
Everything else is exactly the same. But, it was really cool because here you've got CTL, which is a relatively small enterprise education focused company here in the U.S., who hit the market with the first ever Raptor Lake device,
Right.
which is really cool. But then today, Acer announced their new Chromebook, and it is all 13th gen. So it's all Raptor Lake i3, i5, i7, same i7.
They're doing Celeron or Pentium or anything?
Nope. It just had the 3 cores, but they are doing up to 32 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, because they're going. There's an enterprise version of it, which
So, and if you look at it, the pictures are on the website in the post. It looks very much almost identical to the 714 12th gen that's at Best Buy right now. They do have an optional fingerprint sensor. You can get the stylus or not get the stylus. Other than that, what are the ports on the 714? The one that we had.
I feel like it's a decent array. I feel like it had HDMI on it.
So the new one has 2 C's and A and an
HDMI.
which honestly
probably the same. Like, yeah, I love that port selection. Like, it gives
but the
you
fingerprint
all you need.
sensor, so we've seen quite a few of them that are down here on the keyboard deck, but they're square. This is the nice narrow little oval shaped one right beside the trackpad, which is awesome.
Yeah, because that's what they used for the Vero. The Vero we tested that had the fingerprint scanner.
But
I love that because it's out of the way and it's just small, and they always work. They're so good.
Other than that, it's not very different as far the same screen, 340 nits, 16 by 10, upward firing DTS audio speakers, aluminum chassis.
It's a quad HT webcam though, right?
Yes,
I remember you saying that yesterday. Yeah,
because I said 2K QHD.
Yeah, 2K. Yeah, so 2K webcam.
That's dope.
I wonder what that comes out to in megapixels.
25. I'd ask Google, but she
2560 by 1440, whatever that math is.
Yeah,
do it. Come on,
I can't do it in my brain.
Do it in your head.
I can't do it in my
Carry
brain.
4 3.
Carry the two.
I'm not bored.
So, you're not ChatGPT.
By 25.
Anyway, while he's doing his math here,
It's about 3.7 megapixel camera.
there you go. It's better than
Something.
what you get on most. So.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Which
so
one had the
it's,
5? Is it the Dragonfly?
Dragonfly's got an 8. Front facer.
Yeah.
There's a
Is there
couple that
another
have
one that we were
5s.
talking about recently that had 5?
So the duets have 8 and 5.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, 8 on the back, 5 on the front. There was a Chromebook recently though that we
yeah,
spent a lot of Chromebooks.
We've done several unboxings in the last week and a half.
Yeah, there's something floating around recently that was 5, but there's a few 5 megapixels.
HP that we unboxed. I think it was the HP because I remember you looking up the stats.
Yeah, it might have a 5 megapixel.
The new
the X360
really
14C. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To go along with its middling brightness
But yeah,
display, flimsy chassis.
So, but the Acer, it's like I said, it's very similar to the one that's at Best Buy right now, but there's going to be an enterprise and a consumer model. It says starting price of $699, which at first I was like, oh wow, that's awesome. But then I remembered $699 is going to be i3 128. Now that's not bad. It's i3 128 8 gigs, and it's not eMMC. It's NVMe 128. So that's a solid price. That because you look at the last year's X360, it's i3 8 128. It's
this year's is too.
Yeah, but it's so this year. So the 12th gen one is $699 for 8 128. So this is going to be i3 8 128 for $699. Probably won't have the stylus. Definitely won't have the fingerprints.
Here's my issue with that. It's the 714 that's out now. Is what it's 8256. Isn't it?
That's the problem, and it's Core i5 because you also get Iris Xe graphics, which you
and
will not get with
the processor bump is only
if it's just a little clock speed bump, that won't make any sense. So it'll be interesting. Acer, I feel like, does a really poor job of on their press releases of saying like, here's exactly what's going to be at Best Buy.
Right,
and that's my guess is you're going to have your enterprise models. There will be one specific SKU for Best Buy that will probably be i5 8 128 that will probably have the pin, and it'll have a pricing structure that's different because right now they have an i7 version of the 714 on Acer's website. So the only thing it has is the i7, and I think it has 16 gigs of RAM, maybe
of last year's.
Yeah, it's $1,000. So if they bring an i5 8 128 to Best Buy for $729, then that's fine. But the one at Best Buy hasn't been around that long, has it?
Speaking
of, not really. I mean, the 714 is. I'd have to go back and look. I feel like it's like 7 or 8 months old.
I was going to say 6. Yeah.
So they might have done this mainly as an enterprise play.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Did we ever do any content around the other Vero that's at
No,
Best
I was thinking
Buy?
about that today.
I literally, as soon as we were just talking about it, I was like,
wait. The higher end one or the
don't
one
remember
that's
it,
available at Best Buy?
yeah, the one that they shipped us that was the one that I think you can go get. We said we were
that
going
one
to
you
do
can get
something
at
around
Acer. And we have not done anything with it yet. There are too many other things that just come pushing.
that. Just do an article
Well, it's
for
Earth
now,
Week,
maybe.
so you should be doing that right now.
Do we have an article about that?
I mean, we did.
Whatever.
We unboxed it. It's the one. It's the one that we actually unboxed and did our
Right,
video on.
okay.
And then they sent us the one that's at Best Buy, and it was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't love this. So we probably need to do I'd like to do a video. I think that talks about both of them.
Yeah.
Because they feel like very different devices.
Yeah.
The higher end one's really nice.
That's crazy.
The lower end one has a lot of stuff missing out of it. And then I'm like, I don't know that at the price point that I would as quickly say, yeah, go get this.
Yeah.
The higher end one was really nice.
I feel like after Acer's event today, the Vero line is cool because it's not just gimmicky, and some of the devices are really great. And they're unique.
Sure.
But after today's event, I feel like they might be overextending the Vero branding. Like I get the whole globally conscious, all that they're talking about being zero. What's it called?
Carbon.
Net zero,
net zero,
emissions.
whatever by 20. I think they said 2050, which seems far.
I think all these companies, they just keep pushing the day. We're going to be carbon free.
2030.
Carbon neutral.
That's what it is.
Carbon neutral. Yeah, carbon neutral. Yeah,
28. At some point.
But everything, like they've got a Vero air purifier and all, and I'm just like,
Joe, surprised the bike isn't
the
Vero.
Yeah. Joe wants the bike. They have an electric bike. The EB.
EBII.
Yeah, it's
got
it's an electric
rear crash
bike.
detection.
It looks actually kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Electric bikes are fun.
Here's my question: if you get the warning that someone's getting ready to rear end you, what do you do?
Hit the button. It
Does it have like a booster? Or something?
It's got like the fly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like wings.
Yeah.
And then
it's an ejector seat.
But it only works for like 1 mile, so you
Right.
use it conservatively.
I
Joe
think
could
it would
just fly from here to his house.
Right, exactly. I think it would be fun to do some content around it.
I'd rather have like some
e-bike.
I'd rather have like some defensive measures, like it throws tacks or something out, or like an oil slick,
full blown James Bond.
James Bond, exactly.
Yeah. So you mentioned, how much time do we have left? We mentioned the HP unboxing. I don't think we've talked about that on the podcast.
Yeah, we've still got a few.
So we put out this unboxing, and oh, by the way, with this unboxing, our sponsor for that video was Penoval, and the pens are sitting right over there behind Robbie. We've got 5 USI 2.0 pens to give away to 5 lucky winners.
Somebody's got to win.
And somebody's got to win. Might as well be you. May 10th is when that one ends, so you still have some time.
I think that's Kentucky Lottery.
Yeah.
Might as well be you. So, we had filmed that unboxing, I think, before. I don't know. Podcast schedule has been weird too. So anyway, I don't think we've talked about it. So give folks a little rundown on the.
Sorry, before
HP.
you do that, I just thought we should do, the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. We should do the 7 degrees of Chrome OS, because that just made me think somebody's got to win. Blah blah blah. Kentucky Lottery. What's his name from Promevo? You remember? He did the lottery commercial.
And he's in lottery
and he used to work for Promevo, and they were one of the first companies Walk talked to. It's 7 degrees of Chrome OS.
We could do Chrome OS.
Everything is Chrome OS related.
That's right.
Everything is Chrome OS.
Everything.
Yeah. So the HP X360 14C 2023 edition is what we'll call it.
There you go.
Just
the third,
kind of showed up.
I feel like the third in the recent line of these devices. Technically, it goes back a couple versions before that too, where they started doing. I'm trying to remember if those early ones, if they were called X360s or not.
Yeah, they added
with the blue bottom, white top.
Yeah, they added the C to it after like a couple of years.
There were a couple of those. I remember liking that, but I remember realizing that the screen was dim on those devices too. At some point, we were in New York for something, and I had it, and I was working. I was like, I can't see my screen.
Some things never change.
This is not bright enough.
But I liked a lot of what that Chromebook did, and especially back in the day, there wasn't as many to choose from. But the last couple iterations of it, so the X360 14C, the silver version, it's all silver. There was an 11th gen, a 12th gen, and now a 10th gen, 11th gen, and now a 12th gen. And the 10th and 11th were so similar, we made a video explaining the difference in the two. Because they look very similar. They didn't change too much, but with these Chromebooks, HP has done a great job of bringing some of the higher end pieces down, to the mid range Chromebook. So like fingerprint scanner, I feel like it's one of their better keyframes. So the keyboard's always been great. The trackpad's always been great. The build quality's always been really high. And so, and it was one of the first with USI pen support too, I think, one of the first 10th gen Chromebooks. So they've always done a couple cool things with the X360 line, and then they put them on sale like crazy. So, that's just kind of been the MO. So for the last couple of years with these devices, to the point where I think when we filmed the review or the unboxing of the new one, the existing 11th gen was like $300 off.
You could get it for $400.
What? That's just silly to get a Chromebook that's that good. But they all had 250 nit screens all the way across the board. And so I was really hoping this year they switched from a 16:9 to a 16:10 screen. And one of the only other Chromebooks that has that is the Acer 714 that we just talked about.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, maybe they'll go to that panel. Maybe they've heard us complain about this for long enough, and it's not true.
It got me thinking the other day when you sent me that picture. I like 16 by 10 screens are almost like run-of-the-mill 300 nits most of the time.
Yeah.
I feel like they had to go out and find
They went out of their way. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, Chrome Unbox, what do you think about this?
We don't want to spend normal money on a 300 nit. We're going to pay extra for you guys to
Yeah.
design a
Just to piss
250
off
nit.
Robbie.
Well,
And if HP's listening, no apologies. You need to stop. I
Also,
mean, seriously.
unless they're like, oh, all these reviewers want to talk about bad battery life because we got a
sorry.
super duper bright display on the Dragonfly. Well, here you go. You can't turn it up bright enough to kill the battery, so suck it.
True story.
Probably not
That's
what they did.
no, that's the reason.
Probably
for
not
sure.
what happened. I don't know why they feel fixated on 250 nits. It's frustrating because
I mean, that
was one of the only downsides.
that
too.
cheapy one in there that you all said you used yesterday. It's 300 nits, right?
300, and it's $300.
And it looked. We sat out over at a
doors were
restaurant
up.
downtown here with garage doors open, some sun kind of right behind us, 30 feet away, and
Worked on it.
I got
So it
on
worked
there
on-
and installed LumaFusion earlier and was looking. I was like, I
nice
would be
little Chromebook,
100% fine working on this.
how much
thing.
does that thing cost? 200 something.
They're $3 MSRP at $3, but it'll probably be on sale for $250.
And that
$220.
processor's not a joke. So
Yeah, that's a discussion for another time,
day.
probably. I've got a draft sitting there ready to talk about cheap Chromebooks getting better. And I think, what we saw at CES is indicative of what we're going to see a lot of, but we won't get all into that. There's just a ton of these. Alder Lake N and the MediaTek 520. We haven't gotten our hands on to really use the 520 chip yet, but there's a bunch of those all waiting in the wings. We're going to see a bunch of these Chromebooks coming up.
And it's funny, I was looking at YouTube stats last Friday, and I think it's our number 8 or maybe even number 7 video for the last 365 days is the avoid these common pitfalls when buying an affordable Chromebook.
Yeah.
So
I mean, people. I think it's just the market's moving there, and it looks like manufacturers have kind of seen this and are moving that direction too. Of all categories of Chromebooks right now, the highest number of ones in development are either low-end MediaTek or these new Alder Lake N. I mean, there's probably 25, 26 between the two of them that haven't.
So I mean, you think about
some of them will go to education.
Yeah, we haven't seen any real benchmarks or anything yet. But like the N200, you put that in the chassis of a device like that X360 14C. What else do you need? Because the Pentium version of the 14C is great. It's no different than that device. It's just not priced right. If it was priced a little better, I would tell most people just to get that. You don't need an i5 or an i3 or anything like that. So
yeah, and going back to the HP, the switch to the screen is nice. It gives you a little more room. The speakers are improved. They're not Dragonfly Pro by any means, but they're better. The B&O branding that's on there feels like it's actually there for something. They're loud and they've got some decent fullness to them. Keyboard's great, trackpad's great, but the entire bottom is plastic now. And so you've got a larger screen, a larger aluminum glass fixture on top, and you feel it. Like you pick the device up.
Trackpad was clicking.
It's not the absolute bendiest device I've ever picked up, but it's way bendier than it should be for $700. Like that.
Would you rather the lid be plastic and the bottom be metal?
100%. Yeah,
I think so,
Because
too.
I mean, when you pick the device up, a lot of times
You
you're
don't
picking it up
generally,
and your interaction point is always with the keyboard and stuff. And all the X360s before, well, not all, the last two that have looked kind of like this one looks have had an aluminum upper. So the bottom portion was plastic, but it's aluminum upper, and I think the blue and white one had an aluminum upper,
and then it had that
and
cool
an aluminum
finish
lid
on the top.
and and it's deceiving because you pick it up at first and it's like, yeah, it's nice and firm, but as soon as we opened it, it's like, what is happening here? Like,
I think we got it in the video of you bending it and the trackpad clicking, which is never good.
It's off-putting, and it's one of those things. Like when we went to the reviewer workshop for the Dragonfly Pro, they spoke specifically about that. Like part of what they thought through when building it was we don't want any. He called it deflection, is what they call. Anytime you pick it up in one spot and the chassis deflects the other direction, specifically built so it doesn't deflect. Wow. So you guys know about this. Like, it's not like you're unaware that people don't like the way that feels in an electronic. Like, I don't want to pick my phone up and feel it bend. Like, that's just unsettling for an object that is full of unmoving parts to move every time I pick it up.
And costs $1,000.
Yeah, and so and it's like, well, it doesn't cost $1,000. Well, it costs $700 though. And in the Chromebook world, that should be indicative of some better materials being used.
Yeah,
absolutely.
these days for sure.
Especially when there are other devices that don't do that in this price range, for sure. Like, so that was a little off-putting, but it's 360 hinge, all that kind of stuff. So there's some good redeeming points to it, and then there's some stuff I think that's no good. Again, if it goes on sale for $300 off,
right?
Okay, different.
And that's
discussion.
the thing is it'll always be behind the Spin 714 unless they change something because the processor's less. You don't have the XE graphics and then the screen.
And
so if you're apples to
stylus,
if apples to apples, always going to pick the Acer. If you see the HP and you like the way it looks and it's $200 off, then I'm not going to tell you not to buy it. It's still a good device, but it's not a $700 device.
No, it's not, which is unfortunate because I felt like with the Dragonfly Pro, like maybe this device, all they had to do is stay with what you were doing already.
Some of the trickle-down effect, maybe.
Yeah. Make your speakers better and give us 350 nits in the screen.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah, that's all you had to touch. And I felt like they went a different direction with it, and they missed, unfortunately. So hopefully it goes on sale, and there'll be an argument for it. But I feel like we're getting to the point we're on the precipice of a bunch of really good affordable Chromebooks getting ready to come out. It's gonna be very hard to, like, if you're gonna go high price, go all the way in. Like, you've got to go, and that people don't see it yet. I still see people talking about the Dragonfly Pro. Oh, I don't think $1,000 Chromebooks need to exist. But what HP did is they went all in on that. So they just went all the way, make sure all of it's premium.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like for a little while we had no high-end mid-range Chromebooks, and then we had no high-end Chromebooks.
Right.
And now we've got some high-end Chromebooks, like the Framework's a good example. But our mid-range Chromebook section that was kind of the meat and potatoes.
It's like they're caught in the middle and they don't know which way to go.
Yeah. It's like, do we cut more corners to bring the price down, or do we go over the hump and go into that higher territory? They're not sure, and so far it's not been great. And so now we're in this weird moving space where I think when people are ready to spend money on a Chromebook, they're like, I'm ready to plunk down the money. I want to pay for excellence. We'll go get a Dragonfly, and then or the Framework or something like that. And then if not, I'm looking for the cheapest. I'm looking for the best thing I can get for the littlest amount of money.
Yeah.
And there's some really good $400 and $500 Chromebooks out there now.
And I think the market will help, decide some of this.
Yeah,
determine it. I think some of these mid-range devices that are kind of caught in the middle aren't going to sell. And these manufacturers are going to have to figure out what to do. I don't envy them having to figure that stuff out.
Especially not with a 6 to 9 month development cycle.
Right.
Like, it's hard, and it's like, oh crap, we got to do this. Well, by the time you do it and deliver the product,
the market's already kind of settled a little bit, maybe in one way or the other. Yeah.
And I think, I keep looking for more stuff on these Geralt based
so excited
tablets.
for those.
Like, when those start rolling out, those are going to disrupt stuff too in this space a lot, because they're going to finally provide some of both best of both worlds scenarios, and it'll be interesting to see where the pricing ends up on those. MediaTek devices have generally been pretty affordable, so that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting too to see if, like, is anybody else going to develop like the Spin 513 was so awesome. Like, nobody else going to make a Chromebook with the high-end MediaTek chip in it? Like, what's going on? What? I don't know. There's so many options now. It's a different, a whole different thing than it used to be. So,
and we've talked about it of, as Chrome OS matures, we're going to run into some of these things where, I'm sure the PC market went through some of this at one point in time, of trying to figure out pricing and what you're getting for that price. And as the technology is even getting better with better screens, getting a little cheaper, processors getting cheaper.
The funny thing is, it's just like Android phones. Android phones went through all this stuff. Well, where are we at now? You have $1,200 phones, and then it's get as cheap as you can.
Like, it's free.
There's not a whole lot in the other range.
That is interesting.
It's like the water's parted, and that's what it is. Because that's what
you're either going to go get a flagship, or you're going to go get the Samsung A20 whatever that is for free. When you go get your plan. So
So we'll see. We'll see how it works out.
We'll see. All righty, we're going to take a quick break for an ad, and during the break, I think we should do another poll on Twitter and just ask people, if you're shopping for a Chromebook right now, what's your budget?
Yep.
Just see.
I like it.
I've got a feeling it's going to be like that 0 to 300 range.
Yeah, because I mean, again, you have to factor in all the people that are just trying it for the first time too.
Yep.
There's
Right.
still way
Lots
more of
people
those people
still just
than the
trying to
ones
get
that have
into
tried it and want to spend money.
Is Chrome OS can Chrome OS work for me? That's a whole video series we have talked about doing that we need to do. Can Chrome OS work for me? All right, we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna do that poll, and we'll be right back. Let's go, and we're back.
You guys
like
talk.
to-
I'm going to sit here and watch my Amazon driver.
I would like to come back to the sound of applause.
The door's locked downstairs, and I got an Amazon delivery that'll be here.
Hi, we're back.
So Gabe might leave again.
Something about part 2 of the podcast that Gabe does not like.
In 15 to 20 minutes. Can you just hang out?
Gabe is done.
Just drop it on the porch. I'm sure no one will steal it.
You got closers in baseball. I'm not a closer. The opener. Okay.
I'm the opposite of
more
that.
I got like 3 innings in me, and I'm out.
You're more bullpen.
Yeah, you're a bullpen guy.
Bullpen guy.
So let's talk about the Pixel tablet.
Yeah.
I used to get excited about this conversation. Now it's like, man, I don't even want to talk about it.
How quickly it has changed.
You know what I am excited about? I'm excited about OnePlus's tablet.
It could be good.
Yeah.
And and it's funny, like the Pixel tablet, I don't think anybody ever thought that this tablet was going to be so well made or so well executed or so well positioned or whatever, that it's somehow going to like make a dent in the iPad market. Like, let's be clear, the juggernaut in the tablet space is iPad. Period. It's like no one is delusional enough to think that like the Pixel tablet was going to come shake that up from a hardware perspective.
Samsung can't even do it.
No,
and why in the world would Google do it?
They keep throwing stuff at it, and if you've ever picked up Samsung's tablets lately, beautiful,
quite
pieces of
nice.
hardware.
Quite nice.
But they are absolutely hamstrung by Android, and not Android because I don't like Android. Obviously, I like Android, but Android on tablets and the predicament that Android created basically over the course of the last 10 years or whatever, where Android phones are what Android runs on. It's the same exact predicament we have on Chromebooks. Like it's the same problem. We run into the same issue. Apps built for Android are built for phones first, and everything else is an afterthought. And so tablets reap the crap of that basically. And so there was nothing. I don't think anybody, hopefully, wasn't thinking like, Google's going to make a tablet. Finally, they're going to do it right, and everything's going to be perfect in the Android tablet world. Like that wasn't the point of this. The point was, hey, we're going to build a tablet, and our ace up our sleeve here is that it'll dock and be a smart display with Google Assistant, and
like
you can use it.
It's so cutting edge.
And so maybe, and granted, a year ago when they debuted it, it was like, because I remember you saw the Pogo pins, and were like, I bet that's what it's going to do. And then when they finally debuted, that's what it's going to do. It's like, this is a great idea, because we've talked about for a long time like how great it would be to have a tablet that docked and gave you the full Nest Hub experience.
Yep.
Maybe even a better one, because most Nest Hub hardware is pretty pathetic.
Yeah, because like Lenovo tried it with their Tab M's, and the concept was all. They sent us one like
the concept was there.
The first or second gen, the concept was cool. I like the idea of it. Their hardware execution wasn't great. It looked weird.
Yeah.
And it never, like, it was supposed to switch into more of like a home assistant mode when you put it on
no
there.
good.
And the software wasn't there yet. It was like, this is a great idea. But now you've got Google's like, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it right at a time when, honestly, I feel like not just the assistant, but Google Home ecosystem in general is falling apart.
Here's the problem, and the piece I wrote today specifically was about this. Like when they announced it a year ago, mind you, a year in tech is like 5 years in most things, if not longer.
I mean, look how far ChatGPT has come in 2 months.
Well, I mean, just in general, like even without breakthrough technology, like imagine if Samsung said, here it is, folks, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra be available this time next year.
Can't do that.
No, I mean, think how many chips will change. Screen technology will move forward. And granted, it's all very iterative at this point. You know, I've said before, I'll say it again. In a lot of ways, smartphones, tablets, and computers, even Chromebooks to an extent, are getting boring. Like they're getting good enough, and that's why I think the interesting part for Chromebooks now is like how good can a cheap Chromebook get? Like that's becoming super interesting. But Android's even kind of gotten over that, and iPhones have as well. Like some of the cheaper ones are still good enough. A lot of people enjoy them and use them and have the full experience and don't care. People are upgrading their phones far less than they used to because everything's iterating at this little snail's pace. And even in that climate, to announce a piece of hardware and not launch it for a year, it's dead on arrival. Like that's a problem to begin with. That's one problem with all of this. Problem number 2 is how dumb Google Assistant has become. It's you know, there are reports and Google has even said it. Like they've taken almost all of the people off of Assistant and they've put them all on generative AI, so Bard and Bard related things. They're working on integrating generative AI into a new search product that would replace ostensibly Google's main search product. That'll take some time. They won't just roll that out willy-nilly. They got to make sure that's so complex I can't even begin to think about what that would entail, but they are doing it. So guess what? They fired a bunch of people for one, and then they've pushed all these people over to this whole new generative AI section. Well, that means they've pulled people off of the assistant. Well, for some reason, that seems to have equated to the assistant becoming terrible. And I would think anybody watching this or listening to this would probably nod their head in agreement. Like, think about some of the interactions you've had with Google Assistant lately, and have most of them been bad? And I would guess most of them have for you. They've been bad for me.
I can honestly say that around our home, I mean, our home's not fully automated, but we have lights and smart displays and our TVs, and most of our stuff is connected somehow.
Right.
And I've gotten to the point where I can't think of a single point in time in the last 2 months, other than pressing the assistant button on Google TV remote, I've not talked to our Googles to do anything.
Right.
Maybe
because you never know what the response is going to be, or if it answers in a different room or on a different device. My daughter, whose voice is not registered on Voice Match at all, asked it to play something one day, and if you do that and you're not registered to Voice Match, it'll just go to the default YouTube music, so it should just go to mine. She asked it to play something, and it started playing music here at the office. There's zero reason for that to ever happen that I can think of.
Maybe
it's
I'm
not
just,
like she sounds like me.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just living right, but my stuff at home,
right.
I don't use it. I don't use the assistant a ton on my phone.
I'm gonna go ahead and mark that off. No.
No. The
Fake news.
The assistant on my phone I use if I have my phone set up in my truck. I'll sometimes be like, "Hey, play this song" or whatever.
Ooh. Before you go on, does yours work if your Bluetooth is connected to your truck stereo? Can your assistant hear you when you talk to it?
I have to turn down the AC because mine sits in my AC vent.
But it will still try to hear you.
Oh yeah, no, it works.
So my last 3 vehicles, well,
it's not hearing me for some reason.
Yeah, my vehicle before, the one I have now, and
he doesn't even want to say Tesla.
I feel like it's pretentious.
My Tesla.
I guess if I named my other car, so my HRV, my Honda HRV.
Don't
before,
say on the Tesla, on the HRV, and on the
and on some Tesla. I don't
was
know.
it
I get in it a lot.
Was that the car before that?
Yeah, but there was no assistant before that.
Yeah.
But my wife's Accord.
Yeah.
And on the Tesla, all 3. If I have my phone hooked to Bluetooth audio and I try to bring up the assistant, it doesn't matter if I'm on the Bluetooth channel in the car, it can't hear me.
That is so strange.
And I'm like, is it the mic on here? It won't work.
Yeah.
And so, sorry.
I don't even tap. I mean, I'll sometimes reach up and tap the microphone, but normally I just say, "Hey, G," and play this or whatever.
Sidebar.
Mine will not listen.
We were leaving the veteran cemetery yesterday, and I had never seen one of these up close. It was an Accord Sport cherry red, and it had like ground effects on it.
Which year do you know?
Probably 22, maybe.
Okay. The new one has it. They redid the body this year.
Oh my goodness. Maybe it was the 23. I don't know.
Probably not. It's a little derpy looking.
Cars Unboxed coming soon.
22 is amazing. Anyway,
Anytime we have a side conversation,
we were
I just say it's gonna be
that
a new
Unboxed
coming soon. We were in there earlier, and I was so this should be out by then. Yeah, when do we publish this tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So Storyblocks Audio has a Chromebook perk right now where you can get 3 months free through LumaFusion. This is not a promotion. I'm just making a point. We were sitting in there, and I said, I needed to set a reminder to cancel the subscription 3 months from now. And I was like, well, I'll have Google do it, but she'll probably forget. Jokingly, I said that. So I clicked the assistant button on my phone and said, hey, G, or I just said, set a reminder to cancel Storyblocks on July 15th or whenever it was. It said, okay, I'll remind you on July 15th. And the little card popped up, and it had the date, and it said what it was going to remind me of. There was a cancel button and a save button. The save button was not clickable. Nothing I could do so it heard me. It recognized. It acknowledged that I wanted a reminder,
but it did finish the task.
Pretty sure there's no reminder set.
I use mine at the house every day. I normally have it turn on lights, and then every morning I have it play 2 or 3 different podcasts, just depending on what my mood is. I'll say, hey, G, play whatever on main.
It's because he lives by himself.
And I have literally not had any issues at all.
So this morning I asked the Home Max, hey, G, play some songs by John Mayer. This is a pretty easy task.
Yeah.
My kids could do this.
I could program a computer to do that.
Yeah.
And about 90 seconds later, it finally was like, okay, here's some songs by John Mayer. And it did play John Mayer songs eventually. Yeah. But I'm like, these are things it could do easily years ago. Like, this is nothing.
Last night, my daughter, my daughter's obsessed when her birthday's in late July. January, February rolls around, she starts obsessing about my birthday and this and how many days is it and how many months is it. I mean, she's just like OCD
it's
about
my half birthday.
I asked her last night, I said, are you going to do this every day until your birthday? She said, yeah. I said, you're going to have to do it quietly. I can't deal with it.
Put your earbuds in.
Yeah. So she's going to bed, and she said, hey, G, how many days is it until July, the day that her birthday is? Moment of silence. I'm assuming the assistant died, or maybe she was in the bathroom. I don't know. And then all of a sudden you just hear, I'm sorry, I can't help with that. Or I'm not sure how to do that. And I'm like, really? I think in the time it took her to respond, I can't do that, I probably could have done it myself.
I just counted. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But regardless,
it's been one thing after another.
It's not what it used to be.
And it answers on wrong stuff. Like, it gets stuff wrong at our house constantly.
Because remember, they talked about years ago the whole proximity thing. Like, if you've got a house that has lots of smart stuff in it, it's understandable that it might misunderstand and turn off a light in the other room or something. Because sometimes if I'm in a room, those lights have a specific name. Then in my son's room, they have a specific name. But the whole proximity sensing stuff was supposed to, it recognizes which device you're closest to.
Right.
So if you say, hey, G, turn off the lights, it knows, okay, well, he's in that room. Let's turn off those lights. Because for a long time, remember, you'd get prompts on your phone and say,
oh, yeah.
was that what you wanted it to do? Clearly, that training didn't work, because I have asked it to turn off lights, and I'll walk in the kitchen and the dining room lights are off. I'm like, what is going on?
And then, the routines have started failing here again.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
All the lights will just turn off. I'm like,
our camera comes on by itself when we're all here.
Yeah, the camera was on by itself yesterday.
That's a pretty crucial thing for us to have working properly, because turning the camera on and off is when we leave, we need it to turn on. And so then there's sometimes we show up and it won't turn off, and I'll get notifications.
It's just a whole slew of things. So that's problem number 2. The assistant has become dumb. I don't understand exactly why. Maybe they've pulled resources from the servers to put them on other things, and it just doesn't have the resources to do what it once did. I don't understand why further development makes it worse. Like, I could understand it not getting any better than it was, but why does it feel like it is regressing into... It's a dunce. I mean, it's just not fun to... I've completely... Unless I absolutely have to use it for something, I just don't bother anymore. I'd just rather go open the Chrome browser and type, or use voice, whatever, to say it, and I'm going to look it up for myself. And so that's problem 2. So it took too long to get out. Problem 2, the ace up the sleeve is It's gonna use Google Assistant.
We're still talking about
Nest
the Pixel
Hub.
tablet, by the way.
And Nest Hub, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a hub. Well, great. The Nest Hub relies pretty heavily on Google Assistant, which is kind of a turd now. Okay, so that cool thing that you were going to do is not so great. And then we got to talk about generative AI that has come along. And so now you've got, not only is it relying on a thing that isn't as cool as it once was, ChatGPT and Bard have come along now and completely changed it. Now all of a sudden, it's not even just that it's mildly worse than it once was. By comparison, it's the inferior product. And so now you're saying, hey, we've switched, because with all of this, they've also taken a bunch of people off. They don't support third-party displays anymore.
Yep.
And so,
just crazy because, no offense, Google, the Nest Hub 2 is great, but Lenovo has made some of the best smart displays on the market.
And I'm like, and so that just is a clear signal. We're not investing anything in this anymore. Like, they're going to support their own stuff, but they're just doing that because it's their hardware. And so since they're not doing that, now again, that ace up the sleeve is it's a smart display. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
And good for you.
And
it's a smart display with the dumb assistant.
Yeah.
And now you've got generative AI that makes it look even dumber.
Yeah, and if you think that it's, they're probably going to, soon enough it'll be barred or whatever. If you have not watched 60 Minutes interview with Sundar, they are not rushing this. They're actually calling for government regulations. You're not going to see Google's AI in its, most powerful form probably for a long time, if ever.
Right.
They're not going to do what some of the other companies are doing. They're just not.
So now you're going to announce this tablet at I/O finally. Hey, last year, remember we showed you this. We finally have it ready. It's supposed to ship in June.
Cool.
Who's this product for?
Who wants this now?
And at this point, we don't know a price, correct?
I don't think so. There's rumors.
But the retail leak of the base, which is, I'm sure it's a really good speaker. It's probably comparable to the Nest Audio, maybe better. Who knows?
I think we took it out of here.
And it's charging whatever, but it's $129,
right?
Which
means
is
more expensive than a Nest Audio.
Yeah. So you're talking about, which, I mean, granted, it charges your tablet and stuff, but the tablet, I mean, it's probably going to be $600 or $700.
Yeah. So now it's super duper confusing. And I kind of ended the post of kind of saying all that. Like, I just feel like it's too late. Like, you missed your window. There was a window of opportunity there where I think they could have sold some. They could have shaken up the market a little bit and done some cool stuff. Generative AI was coming. We didn't see this future 6 months ago. No one knew that it was going to be like this quickly. So that kind of took them, upended them a little bit, and I get that. That's fine. But when you mix all this stuff together, this has become a really muddled product launch all of a sudden, and it's unfortunate. And so the one bright part of this, perhaps, is, I know you said, based on that interview with Sundar, like, it doesn't sound like they're going to rush to do anything. If Google was able to somehow communicate that the assistant at some point in the future is going to be revamped to use generative AI to help it be better and not so dumb, that could change all
selling
of this.
feature. Yeah.
But they've got to say that specifically.
Yeah.
Like, they can't just, I'm sure everybody knows that we're going to do that at some point. Like, if you think that you want to sell this tablet to anybody, and the selling point, the feature, the big thing is that it's also a Google Assistant, home hub situation. You've got to let people know that all the stuff, all the cool stuff, like the cool kids are over here talking about Bard and ChatGPT and stuff. You got to let them know that you're going to bring that to the table with this thing. Somehow.
And if they are, because they, like I said, they announced that, they're cutting support for third-party speakers. So if you're going to kill smart displays, great, go ahead and kill them. If you're saying, hey, Google Assistant displays are going to be Google hardware, you better make them better. The assistant's got to be better, and it needs to be sooner than later. Yeah,
and I don't know. In its incarnation now, I don't see how that would even be possible. Like, until they start taking generative AI and putting it into,
and perhaps,
Google
like
Assistant.
you said, that's what they're doing. If they're just
even if they just say that they're going,
if they've pulled back the assistant's resources for now because they're literally just working on how to bridge the two, because Bard could be the thing that solves a lot of the problems they've had with the assistant not being intuitive enough
Right.
to do the things that you need to. Because there for a while it felt like, oh, hey, the assistant's getting pretty good. It's starting to,
Yeah,
you
but
know.
it still wasn't conversational.
But it was never conversational, and it was never really like, yeah, it gets me.
It was supposed to be able to make my reservations.
Yeah. I mean, they were working on that stuff, and then people freaked out. Obviously.
Oh yeah, Duplex.
Yeah, they were touting that. That was at I/O, right?
A few years ago. That was on the way to this. Like that's a lot of what we're seeing now is based on stuff like that. And so I get it. They need to be careful.
Yeah.
They do need to be careful with this stuff, but they could use part of these language models to at least make the assistant more conversational.
Yeah.
I put just a screenshot in my post too about the duality of this. So you've got I asked it the same question. So I asked the assistant, "What makes Blanton's a fantastic bourbon?" And it took a minute, and then it found a link to somebody's review of Blanton's or something, and that was it. And I'm like, I could click that and probably read that and maybe get something. Then I asked Bard the same question, and it gave me this whole write-up about the history of Blanton's, tasting notes for Blanton's, how it's bottled, what makes it unique from the lid and the cap and the horses, and all this stuff. This whole big long answer about what makes Blanton's so fantastic. And I'm like, if you need any more proof, there you go. This is the difference. And that's the difference in how I would expect if I'm going to ask something to set a timer for me,
right,
to play me some music.
Right.
Hey, Google Assistant, I'm feeling a little sad and it's a rainy day. Play me some music to cheer me up. But you know what? I don't want anything too hard or like too techno or electronic. But I also don't want super slow music because I'm kind of sleepy. Like Google Assistant right now would have no idea what to do with that request. I feel like Bard would be like, let me think about that. Yeah.
Here's this playlist.
That's what. Did either of you watch Elon's interview this week? Mm-mm. So recommended, whether you like Tucker Carlson or not. The conversation is because he is the one. I mean, he started OpenAI,
right?
And he is the one tech guy out there who's pushing back, saying, "Hey, we need to." He's actually from the sound of it, he's actually saying.
He was on that board that called for the 6-month halt.
He's saying. Eventually, AI will get to the point where he said it's going to be a serious problem and it could eventually cause an implosion or whatever. And he said, why do we want to be in any hurry for that? But one of the good points he made is you said something about the Blanton's review. At what point does it become the generative AI may not be controlling, but the people that are using the generative AI will use it because
right.
Generative AI like ChatGPT or the others can go out and it can find all sorts of different reviews of Blanton's, and then it can take those reviews and then formulate almost like it's formulating its own opinion of what that is. And that's where things start to get gray and they start to get a little scary because it's like, whose opinion is this? Whatever.
Well, and that's where he's wanting to do truth.
Yeah.
GPT or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's. I definitely recommend going and watching it. It's a very interesting interview, and I always like listening to Elon talk. So.
All of these pieces make this product launch very strange.
It does,
and
I hate it.
I wish that when they first announced it, it was ready. And
it should have launched.
Just would have
it
came out
launched
then.
in the
last
fall.
year.
It should have launched in the fall with the phones.
Right, and maybe we'll get it, and maybe it'll be an incredible speaker. And maybe it could be
an incredible tablet,
a great tablet and a beautiful screen and all these things, and maybe it'll be worth it for some people.
Yeah,
but I feel like for the vast majority of folks out there, I don't know that this is something
I don't know of anyone off the top of my head of all the tech people I know and non-tech people I know no one who is out there seeking an incredible Android tablet.
Yeah.
Like Robbie said, if they're looking for a tablet to do something productive, or even if it's just gaming, they're looking for an iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want a great assistant smart speaker or just a great sounding speaker, just go get a Nest Audio when it's on sale.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be a great assistant speaker right now, unfortunately. And it just is what it is.
So with the time we have left, Robbie, you've got the clock over there. Let's talk a little bit about what we know about the Fold, because there was some new news. There was some recent news.
CNBC apparently got on some. They saw internal communications about it, and so they confirmed a lot of stuff that has up to now been rumors or leaks based on just some random person saying, hey. So usually a big news company that covers like world news
they don't do
isn't going to talk about tech stuff unless 100% they looked at it, saw it, and can go, yep, we verified that's true. And that's why news organizations exist. Like that's what we want them to be is truth tellers.
If only we knew someone that worked at Target that get us insider information.
Some SKUs. But yeah, they confirm like the sizes and stuff like that. Like, was it 5.8 inch outer display, 7.6 inch inner display? They confirmed that it will be upwards of $1,700. Now they kept saying they said that multiple times, like upwards of. So like, if that means 1,700 at like the top end, maybe they have like 2 or 3 different configs you can get. If that's like half a terabyte or a terabyte of storage and 16 gigs or 12 gigs of RAM or something, and then there's a version like 128 kind of thing, maybe that's $100 or $200 cheaper. That would be cool. I don't think we're going to see this thing for less than $1,500 in reality.
Yeah.
Samsung starts at $1,799, I think, for the Z Fold 4. So they're going to be in somewhere in that range. It said Google internally refers and talks about it as the most sturdy, I think is the word they use, the sturdiest hinge or the most robust hinge on any foldable ever. So they're obviously proud of.
Pretty awesome
proud of their
to say that because Samsung really touted their.
They spent a lot of time on the
hinge.
Half
Their
of the
second or
presentation
third
was the
gen.
hinge.
Yeah, they talked about that hinge.
So every year they talk about it like it's a big deal. I mean that's where most of your engineering is the hinge and how you're going to fold that screen up the proper way.
I will be excited if Google makes a flip, not a fold.
I mean,
I
could see them doing that.
I don't know.
Like if they care about folding devices, like I feel like they got to have their first party stuff, which. In defense of the Pixel tablet, part of the impetus for that is also just to have that first party piece of hardware. Like if you're going to talk to developers about tablets and you don't make one, it's weird.
Right.
Don't, if you're hearing this and you're like, well, I don't make Chromebooks. We've had that discussion.
Different.
Not going to have that discussion again, but they don't work with partner OEMs in Android the way that they would with Chrome OS because they completely control Chrome OS. It's a little different. They also saw the weight, 10 ounces. Confirmed that. So it's a skosh heavier than the Z Fold 4.
I don't know that I've had hands on with the latest one, 4.
They're heavy, but like.
I mean, it's a
it's
a lot of device there.
Yeah, and this one's going to be thinner too. So it's Dave 2D got his hands on. I put that video in there, but. And I rewatched it again. I think it's 5.7 millimeters when it's open. So the not where the camera hump is, but the rest of the device, 5.7 millimeters. So right on with the Surface Duo, which felt like wafer thin.
Right.
But then when it's closed up, it will have the hinge that closes flat. And so closed up, I think that puts it at what? My math's right, 11.4 millimeters. With a case on your Pixel 7 Pro, that's about what you're looking at. So the thickness of the case and everything will be the naked phone, closed up. So that's pretty cool. I don't think there was anything else in there. It's just cool to kind of hear some of these things confirmed by a really big source that's not going to stick their neck out for something like this unless they know for sure. You might and it's coming. It will be at I/O. I mean, we've said this and we've kind of understood this.
It's nice to know.
For sure, it'll be at I/O and will be shipping in June along with the tablet. So I'm super excited about it. I'm hoping we get a review in it, but I'm going to be honest, even if we don't, I'm buying one.
We're going to go get one some way or another.
I'm buying one for sure. I don't know what I'll do with my S23 Ultra, but I've had one other folding phone experience before, and I'm at least smart enough to hold on to my current phone for a little bit because I'm not sure.
Know thyself, Robbie. Know thyself.
But my only hang up, my only hang up with the Z Fold 4 was the super duper skinny candy bar screen on the front. Yeah. And this phone won't have that. It's gonna basically, if you go I picked up the 6A. So I think it's a 5.8 inch screen on the 6A. Is that right?
Sounds right.
5.8, I think.
I think it's right.
6A? Yeah.
So the smaller phones, maybe it could be the 4A is what it is, because I think maybe the 6A went to 6.1 or something like that. Somewhere in that range, though. So it's a smaller smartphone, by today's standards, but the same kind of aspect ratio of a normal smartphone. Right. So the same width and height kind of thing. And for, knocking out a couple text, scrolling through a feed or something like that, that's perfect. And that's what you need it for, because half the time, at least for me, on a foldable phone,
it's a lot of what you use.
You pick it up and you just do that and you put it back in your pocket. Like
you use that folding when you want a more immersive experience. You're trying to do something different. Yeah.
Right. So when you're in your
not
car
your normal
or whatever,
day-to-day stuff. Yeah.
You're pulling that thing out and just put it back in your phone, in your pocket. And so for me, the Fold, the Galaxy Z Fold, that outer display was not something I wanted to interact with on a regular basis. And I felt myself, even if I didn't want to, I was still like real quick. And I'm like, I hate this stupid thing, but I don't want to open up the phone. And that was enough for me to walk it back. So, I'm excited for it. We're going to have one in the office at some point pretty soon, one way or another. So,
yeah, because I/O is
just a few days away. Couple weeks,
11,
3 weeks,
21 days.
Yeah,
3 weeks.
I'm excited too. I've had zero experience with foldables other than like when Robbie had the Galaxy, and then whatever we've seen at CES. So I will get this one way or another and use it for a few days. So I'm excited to see that, because I've never liked like you said, the longer candy bar.
It just
what was the Find In? That was the one I saw that I was like, that's a phone I could get down with, and this is going to be
the Pixels. Yeah, it's going to be more. It's just a little bit larger version of that phone.
Yeah.
Which is good, because I like the idea that if you open it up into a tablet form, I want it to be 7 to 8 inch tablet.
Yeah.
That's like iPad Minis.
Makes it,
and I love the iPad Minis.
Such a great size.
I mean, it's just, to me, it's a great, like, it's one handable. And, the things that I use my phone for that aren't, texting and basic communications are reading books. I read all my books on my phone, and I like to play games on my phone, and I like to watch
and YouTube
watch
videos.
content.
I watch YouTube.
The folding screen is perfect for all of those things.
Yep.
Like, it's fantastic for it. And I do miss having the Galaxy Z Fold for those things. It was just the other half of the time I use my phone for the basic commodity type stuff. You're going to use the outside screen. You are 100%. So if it's no good, that's a rough experience.
You've got me all in on playbooks. Like, I used to love just a physical book, and I still have a few physical books. I've got one, The Power of Moments, that I'm reading through now. That's a physical book. I like having that every now and then, but man, just the convenience. And
I think, like, my wife always, she was like, nah, foldable phone. But one of the places she orders like skincare stuff from or something, she ordered, or no, it may have been her crafting stuff she ordered. They sent her an email one day and said, hey, congratulations, we drew 10 customers' names. We're going to send you, it's whatever, the brand new e-ink Kindle, the little one that's about this big.
Some of those are getting pretty good too.
Well, they've got one that does have the stylus. There's one that they launched one.
The new one.
Well, she reads a lot, and she does not read on her phone at all anymore. She uses that. And I'm like, I think you might get down with a foldable phone.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll know more soon, very soon.
Yeah.
And we'll be reporting on that, and we'll probably even do just a special episode of the podcast all about Google I/O.
I've been at the I/O and the Fold, man. I've just been waiting for Google to make a foldable since the first Samsung Fold hit the market. I've been eagerly awaiting.
Well, and was it the Duo that had some of the during the presentation, Hiroshi was up and talked about how Android is evolving and dual screen and all this different stuff, and we were getting excited about it then, of just this evolution of Android, and then obviously having that Pixel experience and that Google hardware to go along with it. Whew, it's gonna be nice.
Exciting.
So we'll know more soon. Obviously, stay tuned. ChromeUnbox.com. And I think that's it for this week. We appreciate you all tuning in and listening and watching. If you are watching, let us know what you think about the setup. Hit us up on Twitter or down in the comments. Let me know. We're going to maybe I already have a few little tweaks, maybe, that I want to do.
It'll help. Watching it back. Editing. It'll help. Yeah. I've liked this.
This has been fun.
Enjoyed this.
Feels casual, which is what I want. So, but yeah, let us know down in the comments or over on Twitter what you think. Go check out our poll on Twitter. Give us your feedback there. Enter the giveaway. And then, if you like this content, go down there, give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, and click the notification bell so you get an alert when we put out new episodes. All right, we'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.